And hello everybody, welcome back to RFC News. We've got a bit of a transfer live stream for you. Yeah, came off the heels, of course, of Russell Martin being announced as the manager yesterday. And to be fair, there has been a bit of negativity with regard to the managerial position. Not a lot of fans were happy with the appointment of Russell Martin, but now since, of course, the press conference has taken place, some of the interviews have taken place, I've seen some Rangers fans now, of course, as we do in Rangers fashion, get behind anyone that is in the dugout and, of course, get behind the group of players that are representing the jersey. You know, the man's been appointed now, and I'm certainly behind him. I do think it could be a good fit, Scottish football-wise, in terms of his style of play, and it's probably something that we've needed for a long time. We've just done a deep dive earlier this morning, so if you haven't already, go check it out. As I said, it's a deep dive into why Rangers chose Russell Martin and what you can expect from Russell Martin as the head coach of Rangers. Now, again, just to say my little piece before we, of course, move on to some transfer news, I do think what we've struggled with, and I said it in a previous live stream, is breaking down stubborn defences. I do genuinely believe, and I stand by it still, we didn't lose the league last year by our games to Celtic. That's evident. We won 2, we drawn 1, and of course lost 1. But what I would say is that our games, our matches against those sides that parked 10 men behind the ball were our problem. We didn't have any way of getting past them, and something that Russell's game plan is something that will work against that. So we could see a lot of domestic success, but only time will tell, and we'll certainly find out over the next couple of weeks as we ramp up to pre-season and, of course, those all-important Champions League qualifiers. But as we all know, we need to know that Rangers are going to need a lot of signings this summer. I do genuinely believe that. Whilst Russell was fairly conservative in his views and said that he wants to judge the players and all these kind of things, he's not going to throw people under the bus. But I do believe that he knows, and this Rangers board know, and the ownership know that there is going to have to be some money spent. Now, there has been a bit of transfer news announced earlier today with regard to an outgoing, and then we'll get into the exciting news with regard to a potential striker, as talks have reportedly begun over a potential move for this striker. And I have a feeling a lot of you guys would be pretty excited with the prospect of potentially getting this player. But in terms of the outgoings, reports are stating, of course, from Dutch media, and Dutch media are very to the point. There's never really any speculation. There's something that you can always hang your hat on, is that Robin Proper looks like he's returning back to FC20. Again, I don't know in terms of a fee or what the fee is going to be, but it does look as though Robin Proper will be going back to FC20. Now, let's get into the exciting stuff, the transfer news in terms of the incoming side of things, and the striking position is something that I feel we do need to bolster this summer. Now this is what reports are stating in Israel, and now, of course, coming to Scottish media, is stating that Rangers are targeting and have held initial talks for a 20-goal striker called Dor Turjeman. Now, Rangers apparently want to make this player one of Russell Martin's first captures. Rangers have made the Israeli international one of their top summer targets and could cost Rangers around £4 million to land the 21-year-old out of Maccabi Tel Aviv. As stated, he has netted an impressive 20 goals for Maccabi this season, and sources in Israel claim that Rangers have already opened talks with Maccabi over a potential summer move. Rangers sporting director Kevin Thirlwell came in and made Turjeman an immediate priority. Previous reports in his homeland have also claimed that newly appointed boss Russell Martin, when he was at Southampton, was previously interested in the forward, and Rangers know that they're increasing interest in the player, and the same Israeli source has also confirmed that Maccabi also have Italian and Spanish interest in their prized asset, who has 8 caps and scored once for Israel in terms of the men's team. As stated, we are going to be going over a bit of a rebuild, and there will be a lot of players coming in and out, but this is what's being reported in Israel and now into Scottish media, that this could be one of our first signings and, of course, one of our top summer targets. Now, I like the look of this player so far. Of course, he plays for Maccabi Tel Aviv. Let's get some stats up here in terms of what he's all about. a young player, but this is what his stats are from last season. And as you can see, a total of 20 goals, almost a goal every other game. And then, of course, 6 assists added in there. So in goal involvement, some good numbers there, I suppose. But as you can see there in the league, 22 games, 13 goals, 2 assists, and then of course some European goals as well, albeit some of those being qualifiers. But 4 games in qualifying, 3 goals, 2 assists, and then in the Europa League, 7 games, 1 goal, 1 assist. So some decent numbers there in the Cup, 10, 3 and 1. So some pretty good numbers there in terms of what he's all about. He's 21 years old, and certainly a player that still has a lot of time to develop and get a lot better as time goes on. But that's probably where our business model is at under the sort of 49ers. They're going to want us to make us self-sustainable. They're going to be wanting the player trading model to be a big part of it. But certainly this would be a signing that would fit into that sort of criteria. So yeah, a potentially exciting signing. And as I said, Scottish media and now Israeli media stating that initial talks have begun. So let's see if that actually materializes and something happens about it. As stated, I wouldn't bring you this story if I didn't think there was an inkling of truth into it. So we'll have to wait and see. But apparently talks have begun and will probably cost us around £4 million. Let's get into the live chat. Let's have a little word and speak and take people's thoughts and opinions on all things Rangers, I suppose. Russell Martin, the transfer market, and of course this striker that we're being apparently linked to. So let's get through it. Andy says they're not just going to spend £20 million in the first week, for God's sakes. Well, they're going to have to spend it at some point in terms of bringing in some players. So who knows they're going to be targeting? Jenny says apparently he's hoping to get 2 new signings in before the end of July. Yeah, I mean, he was, as I said, fairly conservative with talking about transfer talk. I think managers always are, really, especially new ones when they've only been in the job 5 minutes. But he did say that he has ambitions to add some players in through the door. We are going to be bringing in players in through the door, of course we are. There's a lot to do. So yeah, we are going to be bringing in players. There's no way we're going to have the same team as we did towards the end of last season. And a striker is certainly a player that we definitely need. Any truth in the Shankland rumour? Not heard anything in regards to Lawrence Shankland. Not heard absolutely anything. Sharpie says, rumours of Aribo coming back. I hope so. Again, I've seen those sort of Twitter rumours emerge, but I did play under sort of Russell Martin. I think Russell Martin, in fact, did sign Joe Aribo for Southampton. So, yeah, maybe a link there. Of course, he's got his history of Rangers. I would like him, but we'll have to see what happens over time. Kenneth Elliott says we need 6 or 7 players. I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that. I do think there's, as I said, Russell was fairly, he didn't really talk too much about what we needed. He's trying to keep the dressing room in place. He's not going to go, well, everyone's shit and they need to go. So did remain conservative of the matter. However, I do believe, he knows and the board knows that we do need to be making some signings. And you can already see players going out of the door, whether it was towards the end of the season with the free transfers. We're now starting to hear the reports about Robin Proper and certain other players as well. So we'll have to see what happens as time goes on and the transfer window opens. I hope so. Joe Geldup from Leeds, who was at Hull City, is a cracking little player. Maybe we might start to see that Leeds link as well. We'll have to see what happens as time goes on. But yeah, I do think it's going to be a very, very busy summer for Rangers indeed. But guys, do let me know your thoughts on this Israeli striker down there in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'll keep you up to date with everything in this summer transfer window. Thank you for tuning in. And